Okay, we're headed to Knoxville to say hello to Tony Basilio. As most of you know, Tennessee will have one of these games Saturday that feels like this is the type of game that decides, are you going to get in a playoff or not get in a playoff? And there are going to be a lot of those throughout the year. Tony, welcome back to Tennessee.
Hey, George, great to talk to you, man. And you're right.
Hey, Tony, I'll say this. I think we're having some audio issues. You may want to.
Well, how about now? I'll unmute myself because somebody's muting me, but now I'm unmuted. How's that sound?
Well, we are. It's coming in hot on your end. You may want to hop out and then come back in. Yeah, he was a little hot there. Sorry, guys.
We got a little bit of that going. So, Kelly, did you learn anything out of that massacre Saturday?
No, I mean, Nico can throw the ball, obviously. I mean, he's a big, he's a tall kid, man. And he puts that ball on the money. I mean, he had no pressure a couple of times. I think he got hit one time, but yeah, he's accurate with the ball, as Tony will tell us.
Tony, what did you learn Saturday, if anything?
Nico can make throws, guys. He can make throws that not a lot of people in the college game can make. I mean, Kelly, that's the truth. That's just a stone cold truth about him.
He can throw it.
Yeah, now we're going to say what we don't know about him, and we won't, is what's going to happen, when these coordinators are paid a lot of money, force him into being uncomfortable, disguise coverage is on him, a game where it's not going his way, and it could be this weekend. You get in a spot like that, or you go on the road in a couple weeks to Oklahoma. But for a first time out in a first game, it's hard to look better than that. Put it this way, guys, and I'm trying to pump my brakes on him. There's not another quarterback in the SEC I would trade for him in Heupel's system. Not one. Not one.
So let's do it this way, because you brought it up. You know as well as I do, defensive coordinators are getting in rooms and having to say, okay, this guy's really good. What do we do to try to make his life miserable?
Yeah.
What do you think teams are going to try to do to slow him down a little bit?
Obviously, the key is going to be to hit him like all quarterbacks, make him uncomfortable, get trash at his feet, get guys rolling around on him, get all that stuff. Just create duress. The issue, George, that we didn't see for these people, and I don't envy them because he can really move. And he has the ability and the presence. The thing I love about him behind the scenes, and this goes for last year when he first got there, and I could just see him last year against their hoopty secondary in practice, no offense to those guys. No wonder he lit those guys up. I mean, he can throw it wherever he wants to throw it. Those seam throws, Georgia, he made, that one ball to Thornton, I mean, that looked like Aaron Rodgers out there letting the ball go. This guy hasn't played enough football to know any better at this point. Imagine how good he's going to be in like week 10. And I'm telling you right now, behind the scenes, he's super grounded. He works super hard. He doesn't want any of the fluff and the stuff. He's already sort of gotten his money at this level. I mean, this guy is fantastic. This is really. I kept hearing, like I kept telling you guys, I kept hearing this guy was fantastic. They don't let us watch any of this stuff, so I have to trust my people. George, we were led right on this one. This guy is really, really good. I mean, like difference making good, like taking an average team and making them a playoff team good. That's what this guy is, potentially.
Do you put any stock in the fact that NC State really struggled last Thursday night?
I had a guy on from the Carolinas named Joe Giglio today who's sort of like me. He's been over there. He's from the Northeast. He's been over there long enough to know better. And, his sense of what happened the other night was that it was very scary from an NC State perspective, because it's one thing to go out there and just kind of look, out of sorts. It's another thing to get beat at the line of scrimmage by one of those teams. And their offensive line got roughed up last week, which doesn't make any sense because 4 of their 5 offensive linemen They just replaced the center. 4 of the 5 guys are back, but they got roughed up the other night. They got physically pushed around on offense, and it created all kinds of duress for Grayson McCall. Western Carolina created a turnover early, and this guy here, Joe had a good point about him. Joe Giglio today, he said, he's a guy that missed 6 games with a concussion last year, and he looked in that game like a guy that had missed 6 games last year with a concussion. He did not look good in that game on Saturday. He was Thursday night. He was all out of rhythm, all out of timing and tempo. It took him till late in the third quarter really to get off the bus the other night. They can't do that with Tennessee Saturday. They do that with Tennessee, it'll be 42-14 before they turn around.
For those who don't know, Grayson McCall is a transfer from Coastal Carolina, and at Coastal Carolina was pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Very good. And he's a veteran guy. He's been around so long, George, that he was on that team in 2020 when they had that game with BYU, that middle of the season matchup. Game day went over there.
Yeah.
And they had it was like a street fight. That game was like an old school street fight right in the middle of a football field. BYU and them. Hey, that was one of my highlights of that season that year.
On a teal turf.
Yeah.
And remember, they were undefeated at that point, and people were trying to figure out, okay, where would they mix and match into all this if they were to beat BYU? So, I mean, he was at that point a really dangerous quarterback. He'll have his hands full Saturday.
No doubt about it. Tennessee's defensive line, I mean, Tennessee didn't let that UTC team or Chattanooga team breathe. All habits die hard for me. Sorry for my Chattanooga listeners. But they didn't let the Chattanooga team breathe the other day. And James Pierce, Tennessee's all-everything defensive end, played 10 snaps. I mean, come on. Tennessee's got 14 guys they rotate on their defensive line. No, well, yeah, about 14. I mean, it's crazy how deep they are.
Which is important if you get to a really hot, humid September night. Who knows? It's too early to speculate, but it could happen.
Well, it could happen. It's also great in these Southeastern Conference games where you've got to rotate guys and keep them fresh. And all of a sudden, the thing about this NC State game is that Joe gave me a crazy number today. Their history in this game is underperforming, speaking of NC State, in a spot like this, and here's why. The last time they started a season in the top 25 and ended a season in the top 25, George, we were rocking bell bottoms. Kiss was just putting out their first record.
Oh, wow.
Young Kelly Holcomb had a lava lamp in his room.
Oh, my God.
And let's see what else was. We were listening to music on an 8-track tape. 1974. Lou Holtz, George. That's the last time they started a season ranked and ended a season ranked at North Carolina State.
And, in fact, we have Lou with us. Lou, tell us a little bit about that team.
I don't remember, son. It's been so long ago. I can't remember what it was, son. I'm losing my mind.
Kelly, the floor is yours.
Right on.
So let me ask you this. What did you think about your receiver? Like, it's hard to gauge against the UTC. They were just overmatched, didn't have anything. Like you said, they smothered them. But receiving core, I mean, I watch Nico. And, because I've got direct TV, so I can't get ESPN or all the Disney networks. So I have to, I had to look it up on the internet. But, he can throw the ball. There's no question about that. He's got unbelievable talent. He's played 2 games in college so far. The ceiling is, incredible for him. But does he have guys around him that can step up to his level?
Does he ever? This Thornton guy this year, the kid from Oregon, Josh Heupel was talking about him after the game the other night. It's funny in the transfer portal because things aren't always as they appear. Last year, this guy looked to be kind of a man at a time in their offense. And look, first of all, Joe Milton was his quarterback. Secondly, he was in the slot instead of playing on the outside. They finally got him on the outside right before he got hurt, and he made a spectacular catch in the end zone. It was his last play last year, if we'll recall that. Thornton, I understand from talking to people, was highly agitated / urinated off that they decided to go into the transfer portal and add this Brazel guy from Tulane. He took that highly personally because a year ago, he was the ticket item coming out of the transfer portal. And these guys aren't dumb, Kelly. They know this thing's a business, so they know they're going to get recruited over. And this kid has come out, reworked his body, looks phenomenal. And those two guys are both set for big seasons. Now, Brazel's going to get the first shake and run with the ones, but I would not be surprised to see the Oregon transfer in year 2 playing on the outside have a big season right next to him.
So I was reading some stuff about Willie Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once again, it's hard to gauge.
Yeah.
What did you like the secondary? What did you, because that's been your kind of your Achilles heel. I mean, I know it's hard to tell with anything, but what did you think about them? I mean, the defensive line, we talked about that. That's a strength
in that
of
game,
the
I
defense.
don't. No, in that game, I don't, because Chattanooga has no time to. Here's the thing about Tennessee secondary. Tennessee secondary probably isn't going to get really tested this weekend. They'll get tested some. Tennessee's defensive line should be able to put ample pressure. McCall will make a few plays, but he's not strong-armed.
Right.
Oklahoma's going to be able to throw over them. Oklahoma's going to challenge Tennessee and be able to throw the ball over them. That's going to be the first test for that secondary. But, you know, I watch a lot of secondaries around the country, and obviously, Kelly, I know if you could come back right now as a quarterback in college ball, you'd love it because the rules are so skewed to putting up just immense amounts of points. And, you know, it's like a video game now, the way all these teams play the game. It's like, okay, just get a stop inside the 20 every once in a while. Though the number of plays per game is prohibitively down through 2 weeks versus or through week 0 and week 1 this year, which is kind of interesting. About 8 to 10 plays a game, which is interesting and worth noting. So the game, I just think, look, Willie Martinez, the problem with the secondary, the way he coaches it is, his favorite album is by Boston, and it's Don't Look Back. His guys never look back at the football. They never look back. I mean, every once in a while, could you humor me and just look back and break a ball up just like every once in a while? Kelly, how would you like to play? Well, how would you guys like to play, Kelly, against secondary doesn't look back? Think that'd be fun?
I would have gone with more than a feeling.
Yeah, it's more than a feeling, all right.
So Tony, is there anything about this? Like, you know, I was with Kerwin Bell. Kerwin Bell throws the ball all over the place. I was quite shocked about that score. I mean, he does a pretty good job at Western Carolina, but it is Western Carolina. Is there anything that concerns you about this NC State team?
Sure, they're a Division I opponent. They this Concepcion guy at wide receiver is a very good player. He made 2 big plays in that game late, which were the decisive plays in the game. Hey, Tennessee's got a redshirt freshman quarterback who hasn't been in challenge spot yet. It's been all hunky-dory for him. And NC State's got a formidable football team, so obviously. However, this is a game Tennessee should take care of business in. And from a Tennessee standpoint, this game's only a big game if you lose it. If you win it, you were expected to win it. If you lose this game, you've created and put a lot of pressure on yourself going to Oklahoma. Because I'm going to tell you, inside Tennessee's building, they have playoff aspirations. They're not going to say that out loud. Trust me when I tell you this. That team feels like they've got a playoff caliber football team. And if they don't stub their toe, the schedule to do it as well.
So, Tony, my last deal here is, you know, you got a kind of a rundown of the SEC this week. You know, who's good, who looks good. What do you think? I mean, what are your thoughts about that? Because here's where I'm coming from, because I think As a UT guy, I was on the Alabama-Tennessee line. I was an Alabama guy growing up, wasn't a UT guy, but I don't think Alabama's going to fall off like people think. I think Kalen DeBoer is really
No way.
good. And, Ole Miss is good. Texas is really, really good.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on just the overall SEC weekend?
The SEC meant business this weekend. I mean, those teams that could went out there and put their opponents away, hammered people. There was no, we'll just kind of mess around, it's week one. Nuh-uh. Looking back on it, George, I'm so mad at myself. I didn't bet all those favorites because they crushed. They went out there and just zero prisoners taken, hammered people. And I'll tell you, the most impressive game to me was that Vanderbilt game. And I'm not sucking up to you guys, you guys, Billy, being on here. You talk about a guy going out in the offseason and reworking his offensive staff. They look nothing like they did last year. And they're one of the teams I'm talking about with the headset deal and the whole thing, and the game's a little slower. I mean, they're not going to be able to stay in every game doing that, but that kind of service academy sort of approach, keep a team in front of you, that sort of thing, that was really, really impressive. And for Vanderbilt to give up that double-digit lead and still have the fortitude to come back and drive the ball and make clutch plays at the end. Hey, that kid from New Mexico State beat Auburn last year. That kid's no joke.
No,
that's a good little quarterback now. That kid's no joke.
I watched him a lot a year ago, and I started talking about him because you'd see him every Tuesday night on the Conference USA ESPN package.
Yeah.
And I kept saying, look, I don't know who he is, but this Diego Pavia kid is really the real deal. Now, I never dreamed at the time he was coming to Vandy. By the way, I need you to help me with this. Billy, put yourself on camera. Okay, so Kelly makes a comment moments ago, and it was
unfortunate comment, I may say.
It was meant to tear down. He said that Billy looked like Opie, and Billy didn't know who the hell Opie is.
Tony, help us, man.
How can
Billy,
you hire him?
Billy,
I know you're upset at me.
You've heard the song, Billy. Come on. You watch the show, Billy.
I've seen it occasionally, but I'm not.
This. Kelly needs to build you up and encourage you and quit being that way toward you. In my opinion.
I just said that he looked like the average mall walker today in his picture. I mean, he looked like he got up at 6:30 this morning to walk with all the old folks at the mall.
I'll tell you what, Billy's a fine-looking young man with a bright future. If he was a stock, I'd bet on him.
Right. But, let's be honest. Kelly's a hater. And we know that. He's negative. He's all of the above.
Kelly belongs in Philly. Kelly belongs in Philly.
Oh, he'd be perfect. Kelly Holcomb, WIP.
Oh, with all the haters.
Okay.
Put in your application.
Saturday night around 11:30 your time.
George, I literally want to come through the device and I want it. Don't remind. So we do this program called Garza Law Fifth Quarter Fan Reaction. And for those of you that can't see me, thank God you can't. But for those listening, and this is just audio for you. For those that can see me saying, God, look at that guy. He looks like a cross between Mr. Clean and Georgie Animal Steel. You ought to see me. You ought to see me in November. I'll be hanging from my ceiling looking like Uncle Fester. That thing ages me 15 years when I would you explain to your boy who Uncle Fester is? He has no idea, Kelly, who Uncle Fester is.
I just tell him to Google it, man. I just tell him to Google. Just figure it out, dude. I'm not going through all that and wasting my time with all that.
Guys, I love this college football season so far. It's going to be so fun, so intriguing. This transfer portal, the way these guys are fighting to get into the SEC is so fun. Vanderbilt's got a nice little quarterback. Every team in this league, for the most part, is going to have a credible football team because everybody wants to get in this league and put something on tape.
Okay, how can they hear you Saturday night on your last legs?
tclub.team. tclub.team. The revolution will be televised. So I appreciate you guys.
Tony, you are the best.
Thank you. Me and Opie.
No
Oh,
question.
God. Figure
Thank
it
you,
out,
boys.
man. Figure it
Talk
out,
to you.
Billy.